Hello, everybody out there. They had the Nintendo Treehouse live stream, I guess, of this Splatoon footage, and they did show off Scorch Gorge. I did an analysis video, actually, on this channel of Scorch Gorge before we could really dive in and see it like they can right here in front of us. I know it has their camera, their face cam, let's call it, on their live stream. I'm going to go ahead and put my face up here. I apologize in advance to everybody. Notice when you first spawn in that base area, which is, I got that correct in my analysis video, this is kind of the extent of it where you can land. There still is like a beacon. It kind of looks like where you would have that spawn point in the other Splatoon games. Right there, they just passed by it once again. It's kind of interesting because it's covered by canvas right there. You don't have to spawn from that. I guess it's just to indicate, hey, you know, it's yellow, it's this team's base, basically, and it's their spawn area. But it's just maybe also a nod to like we used to spawn actually in a circular spawn point. So a big thing about Scorch Gorge is this is kind of like Battlefield. I'm actually going to pause it right here. It's kind of nice. We can see it from like the bird's eye. We can see it right overhead. And finally, we can tell I was mostly correct in my analysis video that there are obviously differing levels of height. You know, there's going to be lower areas and all that. That comes with most Splatoon levels, clearly. But what the significance is, I guess, of this and just of note now that we can see it with the actual map, because this is the first time that we see the map layout overhead, the Splat map. But yeah, they have it really dark, like almost black, you could say, for the lowest levels on this stage. And so that's really just that kind of like middle, diagonal, left and right, top, bottom, you want to call it. But this is just really interesting. I think this gives everybody the lay of the land. You remember that it's essentially the map is like your base, and then you have these 4 poles. The ones that are close to each of the bases have the fish head skull on them, and then the other ones have that big dome-like structure. And where that dome-like structure is also, that's going to be where the catwalk is, so those bridges basically, and they are graded bridges. They do mention what I mentioned in my video, of course. I nailed all these points, man. I'm like patting myself on the back, but the Splatoon expert there with them, isn't that Dutch? It was his name on the Treehouse live stream. But yeah, they mentioned, of course, that you can't get up to the enemy base, basically. You can't like climb up those walls because they're pretty much all metal or some kind of material that you can't splat and ink up above. And so the way to get to it is that bridge, that catwalk right here. And so I'm kind of fascinated. You know, he's using a roller. I don't really like rollers myself, but I guess I didn't think you probably would be rolling over that catwalk and whatnot to just move a little bit faster, have that little bit of maybe assurance that you would splat somebody if you ran into them. But yes, that bridge is the only way to get up to the enemy base and their whole territory. So their side of the map, their half, you're going to have to take that bridge up there. And again, you can kind of mark that by those dome structures, although it's like more so by the center structure. See here, this is a good example of it. And by the way, there's a nice look at the new special. It's almost like a Spider-Man ability right here, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. So, Scorch Gorge, though, again, I really advise people to look at my analysis video on that, but it's clear what we can see that this is very much like Battlefield from Smash Brothers, I called it, because it's not flat like Final Destination, but it is sort of that more, like, raw, especially beginners may like this, too, like, because there's not going to be a whole lot of trying to worry about enemies getting in through other means, right? Like, unless they have that special, maybe they could, like, splat up there, and then they get caught back, of course. So it's going to be really reliant on those bridges. I'd say if you're playing it, you know, try to get the high ground. Generally that helps, but you can be splatted, and really there's a lot of vulnerability from that center platform. So it kind of just depends. If the enemy is going to be on that higher level in the center, smack dab, then you'll want to get them off of there. You know, throw your bombs, you know, your sub weapon, launch your specials on it. It's a small area. So honestly, actually, what I said before about you wanting to be up there, that's kind of not true. Like, don't hold that like a post necessarily unless you've got enough firepower to do so. You know, like pick and choose your moments for it, because clearly there's going to be a lot of vulnerability there. And hey, if you like are even on those bridges, it might seem like it's great to be on the higher up and shoot down at people, but they can just shoot up at you too. So really you are going to be vulnerable depending on which height that you're on. It's just who has the smarts, who has the firepower, and which items they're using. By that we mean like specials and subs, and their main, I guess. And so otherwise, this was a great look. You can pretty much, I'm assuming that we can all rest assured that this is going to be one of the levels that's in the demo. It's there right now when you look at the turf war. I know you can't even jump into the match, but it's like there in the schedule. And so I would imagine in the Splatfest, they're definitely going to be rotating this map in, if not the entire time, most of the time. It should be this and Eel Tail Alley. But yes, please feel free to click an end screen on screen, catch another video, and thanks for viewing.